Guest, U.S. Congressman from Michigan's 11th Congressional District, Republican Thaddeus McCotter is here. Good morning, Congressman. How are you feeling, sir?
Oh, I'm just happy to be talking to you.
It's always a good day when you start your day off with John and Amy. So, Thaddeus, let me ask you this. You obviously had an election last night. How did you fare?
Well, I was lucky enough to be entrusted with another term, my fifth, by the people of Michigan's 11th District. And if I hadn't been, I might not be talking to you.
Well, I tell you what, I think that Michigan is moving in the right direction as well. I like your governor-elect, Rick Snyder. How did he describe himself? Not as a dork, but he called himself...
one tough nerd.
One tough nerd.
That's his own self-description, yes.
So, and I think, a state that is in desperate trouble certainly needs some Republican help, so we congratulate you as far as having a Republican governor-elect to work with soon. And as far as the House of Representatives, I've been asking this question of all of our guests today. We call this Winter Wednesday. Mm-hmm. Winter Wednesday. Mr. Steele, Chairman Michael Steele, has said no compromise on debt ceiling. Over on the senatorial side, you have Rand Paul coming in and a brand new senator from Utah who says they will not compromise, not one dime, no more debt. If the Republicans don't make a deal with Barack Obama and the debt ceiling is not once again raised early next year, do you worry, sir, Thaddeus McCotter, that will affect Wall Street to the point of being another panic? Do you buy into that scenario at all?
Well, I think that everything we've seen from economists and others, and I think Reuters just had an article about it today, is that the United States is heading towards the verge of a debt crisis. The problem is not keeping the debt ceiling in place and actually doing the job of budgeting in a responsible fashion to help get government spending under control. The problem has been an increase in government spending, out of control government spending. So those who talk about as if you don't increase more federal spending, there's going to be problems, have A, missed the economic signals we've been getting from all corners, and B, missed the entire point of the 2010 election.
Don't you think that politically, though, that the Republicans, both in the House and even, Tea Party-esque guys who are coming into the Senate, could say, all right, it's against my philosophy, it's against what I said during the primaries, even during the general, but I'm going to go ahead because this is really, Barack Obama owns this, right? So in other words, we'll keep the government working here, but next time we really have some influence. But I worry that, Rand Paul will dig his heels in, and then, we'll have the shutdown of the government, and then we'll have the same thing happen that happened between Clinton and Newt way back in the 90s.
Well, there's 2 points there, Big John. Number one is, it should not be a political decision. It should be in the interest of the American people. And the interest of the American people is not to increase government spending. It's going to continue to hamper a recovery. It's going to continue to cause long-term problems for generations of Americans as we continue to pile on debt. So I would encourage everyone not to look at this as a crass political decision to make, because that's what leads to quote-unquote bipartisan compromises. And when that happens, all you do is you get teeth in both sides of your butt. The second part of that is a decision to shut down the government would mean that the administration, that the Obama administration and the Senate Democrats did not get the message of the 2010 election, that the American public is farther ahead of Washington in terms of having responsible fiscal sanity restored to federal spending. So what you're looking at here is anyone who makes the argument that somehow it's irresponsible of Republicans to try to do what the public has elected them to do are really the ones who've missed the point. And in 94, 95, what the Gingrich was actually, I think, a little bit ahead on the concept of the federal government's debt getting too large. It was handled badly. It was not communicated properly. And the American people rejected what they perceived to be an extreme move by Republicans to shut down the government. Right now, it is the public that is ahead of the politicians that want to see federal spending reduced. And they are not going to look kindly on having elected people to do that and have them turn their back on it.
That's a great distinction, Congressman.
Now, Congressman McCotter, were you keeping a close eye on the congressional races around Chicago area or across the country last night?
I was pretty much keeping a close eye on Michigan 11.
Well, how did you do? I mean, what was the final tally?
Oh, I was reelected. It was all right. It was enough to go back, and so that's all you can ask for is one more vote than the next person. But in terms of the national wave, which I think you're getting at, again, Republicans have to remember this is a victory for the people, not for a party. Mm-hmm. All the statistics bear that out. Is that the public is still very skeptical of Republicans, and that's why I think that your question was so apt, so accurate to start with, was the fact that when Republicans now come in, we are going to be under scrutiny as to whether we follow our principles, and that debt ceiling, along with the earmark ban, are going to be two instances of right off the bat where people are going to measure us.
You just wonder if, of course, Barack Obama, the Democrats will say, well, look, here we go again, obstructionism. That's all they have. That's all the party of no. Now, Rand Paul is the son of Dr. No, and now you got the first father-son combination where the son is in the Senate, I believe. And I worry that it can be misconstrued and you guys can be painted as villains as opposed to just physically responsible.
Well, sometimes when you step back and you look at things as real people do, the Democrats called the Republicans the party of no for the past 2 years. How did that turn out for them?
Mm-hmm.
It's the public of no. The public has said no to what Mr. Krauthammer has called the hyper-liberal agenda of the Obama administration and Nancy Pelosi. And so when you look at it, the public is the one who rejects these policies that have been foisted on them, that rejects more government spending. And so what the public has wanted, they've spoken, and they've made it pretty clear.
John Boehner, what are your thoughts on him becoming Speaker of the House? I think he's the right man for the right job at the right time, don't you?
Well, John's going to be Speaker, and I think that John understands the Republican Party has a lot that we have to do right now, and I would expect that when we meet and we start to talk about what we're going to do early next year, he's going to be for an earmark ban, I would trust. I haven't talked to him about that, but I think that would be one of the first things that we can put out there that would show the public we've learned our lessons from the past. In terms of what we do coming into lame duck, I also think John's going to be focused on the fact that the tax relief of 2000 is going to be in danger of expiring at the end of the year. So our work ahead of us is to try to get the bipartisan majority in the House, which exists and has existed since the fall, to extend the tax relief across the board, to get that in place and try to get that done before January, because that's exactly what the recovery needs. It does not need uncertainty as to the tax rates, and it certainly doesn't need the tax rates going up through the inaction of the lame duck Democratic majority in the House.
I look forward to hearing what the president has to say about not only the election yesterday, but the expiration of those tax breaks coming up later today. Congressman, thanks again for popping on with us. Always great having you on the program.